Hello and welcome to this introductory video outlining the Wednesday PM games options that are available. So these are part of and package of the sport that's on offer at Old Swinford Hospital. If you've got any questions following this, I would suggest that you wait until September, or alternatively you can contact myself or Mr. Coulter, who is the subject lead for sport and also the subject lead for the Wednesday PM games option. So, on a Wednesday afternoon at OSH, there are no subject lessons that are timetabled for sixth form students and for year 11 students. Instead, what we do is we have all of sixth form off timetable, and they are expected to attend a sporting option from an available list. Now, in terms of what that list can entail, it could be rugby, football, hockey, cricket, climbing, cross country, netball, girls fitness. They vary from term to term, so we have certain options during the Michaelmas term, then they change for the Lent term, and then they change for the summer term. And we have specific coaches for certain sports, and that means therefore that students get dedicated coaches and dedicated coaching to their particular chosen sports. At certain times of the year as well, we use that Wednesday PM slot to offer alternative options. So we have sports day, for example. It might be the case that there's a very specific event that takes place, and we ask students to use that time for it. These particular activities, they're not just done within school, so a lot of the time we schedule fixtures on a Wednesday afternoon, so it might be the case that students are going off site, they're going across the West Midlands to compete against other schools in their chosen sporting field. In specific cases, we sometimes have students that might be elite athletes in their chosen fields, and what they sometimes might wish to do is to use that time to practice, and that's available on request with the head of sixth form. So we've had students before and students currently who are elite athletes, so we've got students that involved in swimming, for example, or in table tennis, or this year actually we had one student who is competitive in their dancing, and as a result on a Wednesday afternoon they can go off site and they can practice that particular skill. We also have some students that follow a very regimented program because they're elite athletes, and as a consequence on that Wednesday afternoon they may wish not to do sport and they may wish to catch up on their subject studies because other time is impacted on that. In that particular case, again, we ask them to speak to the head of sixth form, myself, and we have that dealt with on request. There is an academic option that's available on a Wednesday afternoon for anyone unable to partake in sport, but really we don't want many people doing that. We want as many people getting involved in the sporting options that are available at OSH. Options tend to change from term to term as well, and they run based on availability. So the options that you've got on the screen there, they might not be guaranteed to run in the exact same capacity as they run year on year. It's based on staffing, and it's based on fixtures, it's based on uptake as well from students. Certain options as well might differ from week to week, so it might be with female fitness that one week you're playing golf, the next week you're doing inter-house netball, and then the next week you're doing self-defense. So there are other options as well which each week isn't necessarily the exact same program. Certain weeks might be training, for example, certain weeks might be fixtures, and what you'll have is at the start of the September induction you'll have a talk from Mr. Coulter, and he'll outline all the different options that are available and the expectations for that Wednesday afternoon. But essentially how we say it to the students is we say treat it like a subject, it's got real value, and as a consequence you should see it as something that you want to progress at during your time at OSH. So why get involved? Well, the first thing to say is that this is something which you have to get involved with. It's part of our programme at OSH on a Wednesday afternoon, but what we want is we want students to not just get involved on a Wednesday afternoon, but to do things after school with a sport that's offered, to get involved in other fixtures as well. And we're committed to offering this dedicated time for sport to all of our students. And there's a number of reasons for this. So the first reason is that team sport is an excellent way to meet new people, to forge those strong bonds that are really important in adolescence. So we feel as though if students want to feel safe and part of this community, then the best thing for them to do is to get involved in the sporting options that are available, because it will forge those friendships. Likewise, representative sport is an excellent addition if you're looking to apply for jobs or to university, because lots of those key competencies that sport develops, they're the things that employers and institutions are looking for. So you're able to write down that you've participated at school and you've been involved in the first 15, for example. That's something that universities would look at and commend. We also see this as an investment for yourself from a physical and mental health perspective. So those people that get involved in regular exercise have a low risk of developing long-term chronic conditions. Now, it may be the case that you're not able to get involved in the Wednesday PM Games activities because you have a long-standing chronic condition, and that's completely fine. That's why we have an option which is an academic option that you can choose from. But if you're somebody who is physically able and is able to get involved in the sport, we'd also say that getting involved is going to be huge as an investment into your own mental health, because people who do regular exercise have up to 30% less chance of developing depression, and that's from an NHS England report of this particular year. Now, that's not to say that if you do sport there's absolutely no risk of getting depression or any depression related disorders, but it is there is clear evidence to suggest that if you get involved in regular routine physical activity, that will improve your mood, it will reduce stress, it will increase your self-esteem, and it will have it's called a wonder drug approach of releasing specific endorphins that tackle issues like depression, and that's one of the reasons why we're always committed to getting students involved in the sport that's on offer at OSH. So how does it work then? Well, at the start of each term, you'll be given the termly options from your tutor. And what you need to do is you speak to the people around you. You say, what do you fancy doing this particular term? Or it might be the case that you've already got in mind exactly what you want to do. And you just say to your tutor, here's what I'd like to select. They select from the options, and then that's passed to Mr. Coulter. On a Wednesday PM, you register with your coach. It's just like a lesson, and you do those activities for the afternoon. It's really important that you remember the kit as well that you need for that particular week. In the first few weeks, there's a specific program, so you don't necessarily need to have all of the correct OSH sports gear in the first week. But after that point, it's really important that you do, because if you don't have the relevant kit, then you won't be able to partake in the activities, and instead you'll have to sit and go through the academic option with myself. That sounds as almost though the academic option isn't something that's desirable. Essentially, if you're wanting to go out onto the sporting pitch and you're inside and you're doing the academic option, obviously that's not something that you will particularly want to do. In terms of next steps from this particular point, don't go ahead and buy all your uniform before September. Wait until you have joined the school, wait until September, wait until the induction program of the first few days, and we'll tell you what you need to get. You can buy all of the OSH sporting uniform on Ron Flowers on their website, and likewise there is something called the Nearly New OSH shop. So if you want to buy second-hand OSH PE gear, then you can do so via the school. If you want to as well, you can go on to the dedicated website for the sporting options that are available on OSH. So that's at the link that's at the top of the screen. You can see some of the fixtures that are taking place and what's going to happen. Now, there is a caveat that I have to put for all of this particular talk. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, it would be interesting to see how it develops from a competitive sporting capacity and how that will work when it comes to bubbles. So what I'm delivering here is what we've offered in previous years. It might be that it has to change next year because Public Health England guidelines dictate, and we'll have more knowledge about that in September when you look at the specific programme. If you've got any questions, you can contact myself or Mr. Coulter. Thank you very much for listening and for watching.